So we will go ahead and start the public comment period. This is the public comment hearing for the CDBG-CV, which is COVID assistance reallocation. If we want to make sure that we hear everybody's comments, and so if you'd like to speak, just raise your hand and we will begin. Does anyone have any comments?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you give us a little bit of background information about what the proposed reallocation is and the purpose? I think that we're all a little flat-footed, not understanding the context in which this reallocation is proposed.
The reallocation that is being processed right now is our CARES COVID funding, which we had been utilizing to provide mortgage assistance, and that was based on community outcry that there wasn't any funding being provided for individuals that were behind on their mortgage assistance. And to date, we opened it up as soon as we received the funding from HUD, which was November of last year. We opened up the program. Through the month of May, we had only had 2 applicants. And now this year, the state has received quite a bit of money. They now have a mortgage assistance program, which includes utilities. So that being the case, we need to get that money out there into the community to assist individuals and all of the medical needs that we currently have in our community with the COVID numbers going up is the best utilization of those funds. So that is the reallocation that is happening right now that we're trying to get approved.
Awesome. So I just want to make sure that I understand the context in the broader sense that these funds were initially earmarked for housing assistance. Is that correct?
No, that is not. No, they were to be used to assist with mortgage payments that were in arrears.
Right. So
Yes.
that's what I was saying.
Okay.
So given that the county program funds for emergency rental assistance evaporated pretty quickly, it seems like that we have a lot of still pressing assistance needs in the housing domain. So I'm a little confused why we would reallocate funds away from housing assistance, whether it's mortgage or rent, and into, I mean, yeah, our COVID numbers are rising, but it's not my impression that UAMS has a funding need, and I haven't seen any requests for proposals where applications were taken for that. But we know for a fact that we have a lot of residents who are in arrears on rent and need assistance. And so I would just ask, rather than reallocating these funds for a COVID ban to a state institution that has plenty of funding, that we send these funds deeper into the community to folks who are still behind on rent and facing eviction as we speak.
Okay, we have noted your comment.
Thank you.
Hi, I guess I've got some questions too about if you've only had 2 applications for the mortgage relief. I'm pretty certain that we all know that there's more need out there. What are the verifiable ways that this was, that the public was sought to make applications? How many activities or events were held, what type of publications were you doing any outreach in?
Okay, we promoted that on our Facebook page, on all city communications methods, through media releases. It was out there in the community with as many nonprofits as we could get it to. It was in our newsletter. We were pushing out the information every way we knew to get it out there. And we just didn't have anybody really applying. And then now that the state has all this funding and they're providing mortgage assistance and utilities, we were not providing assistance with utilities, we were just providing mortgage assistance, then that just seemed to be a duplication of efforts. And with the COVID numbers going up and hospitalization going up and the community outcry for a need for health assistance, that's the logic there.
Governor Hutchinson refused some funding for rental assistance recently.
That's correct.
So, I mean, I think I would have to echo the last comment in that, well, and first of all, let me say this. I've partnered with UAMS. I think they do great work. I think they have access to funds, other funds. And I think we have a housing crisis in terms of people and rent and evictions. And, you know, I think that's where the money most closely relates. And even with COVID going up in our community, we've not had lack of access to getting vaccinations at multiple locations. Anybody that doesn't have a vaccine, it's not because of lack of access.
Okay, well, let me make something clear that it's not, the efforts are not solely on the vaccinations. It's vaccination testing and any other health issues which could keep individuals from enduring any extreme results to, effects to their health because of COVID. So there's going to be more there than just vaccinations. And as far as the rental assistance, we have no way to tap into the rental assistance that had been provided to others to be able to document that there isn't duplication of monies being spent. So we don't have access to the system, and these dollars need to move to help our community. So there are some barriers to being able to utilize that funding for rental assistance. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but there's no way for us to tap into all the information that the county had and that I guess now has been moved to the state. I'm not sure where that's all been, but according to the governor's statement, he was saying that there's money in other places that can be used for rental assistance. So I'm just basing that, I mean, that's what was stated by the governor.
Well, I mean, if anybody wants to talk about the Washington County Quorum Court and they're defrauding the community of all of the funds by moving them and not providing rental assistance or cutting it off and taking the funds for things not approved by CARES Act, that's a whole nother story. But I think that there's not enough information on how this money became like available to UAMS and apparently no one else. And I mean, how was this through committee? What was the committee? Who was on it?
This was based on community needs. The community needs, we have many individuals out there dealing with many health issues, not only the need for vaccinations and testing, but we have individuals out there that are now experiencing the results of what has happened to them because of COVID. and or they have health issues that they can't deal with, which is going to put them in a more vulnerable position if they do happen to get COVID and the numbers keep going up. So I totally understand that housing is a huge topic, but so is the health of our community. The health of our community is very important, and we have many individuals out there that cannot afford to go to the doctor. And they are constantly communicating that they need help. They need help. They need help with their medical assistance. They might not have transportation to get to a clinic, or they feel like they're not comfortable going to a clinic. So the needs, I understand we have many, many needs, but health is the health of our community is utmost.
Is this service going to be free?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For anyone in the community?
Well, they're
Do
going to
they,
be looking
do
at
they have a
income- at
proposed
income
route that
levels.
do they have a proposed route or places that they're going to set up in the
They're
community?
going to go wherever they are needed, and they will be providing assistance to those individuals that are most vulnerable and most needy as far as their financial situations, so that we can make sure, because what has happened in the past is that those individuals are the ones that are most vulnerable, which would be our unsheltered, our elderly, our individuals that are low to moderate income that can't afford to go to a clinic or don't have the transportation. And we saw the suffering that happened because of COVID and the fear. A lot of folks wouldn't even leave their apartments or their homes for fear of getting sick. So we need to be working to have a healthy community, as well as, I am not saying at all that housing is not important. I am not saying that, but our health of our community is at risk, and we need to be moving on that as quickly as possible.
So there is a committee that is connected to your office that
There's an advisory board that works with
is
CDBG that is
based on the
correct.
community. And even, excuse me, I think
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
there's a committee that's involved with your office that is there to weigh in on community issues and funding issues. Is that correct?
Their purpose is to be aware of community needs. That is correct.
And they would be someone that would like learn of these kinds of funding transitions, if you will, desires to say that we're going to have more funding in this area from another source, and we're considering this source. We want y'all's input on this. Was that sought?
They are, their purpose is to be disseminating information to the community. They also work on ranking when we have our regular CDBG funding. Yes, that is what they do.
So, I mean, I'm not sure if you answered my question. Wouldn't this be an area that they could weigh in on as members of the community?
Absolutely. We have a 30-day comment period. We have this public meeting. Absolutely, they can provide their comments.
Was there an application process for this? Is there a proposal that the community can see?
These entities provided applications, absolutely.
Well, I mean, there wasn't an application process for this money to change over because there was no this is the first public notice of transferring these funds to this need.
This is the required public notice, which is the 30-day comment period and the public hearing. And then it will be submitted to HUD for their approval. That doesn't mean that this will actually, I mean, we hope that they will approve it. They make the final decision.
So I have a quick observation.
Mhm.
I just looked at the state's website, and it says that the emergency rental assistance program is closed.
Right.
And so I think that there's money at the state is not accurate. They do have a little bit pooled up in different areas for ESG. And so We have an ESG service provider that is approved by the state here in Fayetteville. And I think what to the last speaker's point is that the role of an advisory board, like this is an ideal role for an advisory board, is to put this information out, have an open discussion, publish an RFP. And because it's not, unless I've missed it, I didn't see an RFP for applicants to be able to apply for the reallocation process. So it just seems like that the whole purpose of the advisory board is not just to rank CDBG applications, they meet monthly, right? So like to be able to vet community engagement and to hear these questions and then to have an open forum. So I don't know, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, but just given the fact that we have so many tenants on the brink of eviction, that when we talk about community wellness, that if they go from being housed to unhoused, yeah, it'll be great if a van can stop by to check on them in the woods, but it'd be better if they remain housed. And UAMS does not lack funds for being able to provide at-home services. And so I'm gravely concerned about how this reallocation is being proposed in the process. I'm also like I'm just going to be honest, I'm really nervous about speaking up about this because I don't want it to torpedo our ARPA application, and I don't want to make anybody mad. But
The ARPA application has nothing to do with this process.
I understand that, but we all know how it all works. And so all I'm saying is that it seems like a more transparent process would have been to vet this through your advisory board. Your own advisory board members didn't know anything about it because I called and asked a couple of them. And so it seems like that's the purpose of an advisory board, is
Okay,
so that we can facilitate. Hang on just one second.
Okay, go ahead.
That's okay. I'll just finish up. I would propose that we send this through the advisory board so that it goes through, just public transparency channels, and that the community can talk about it and you can get more input from other housing providers so that you can hear different points of view. I reached out to several housing providers, nonprofits, and this wasn't on anybody's radar. And so I feel like that with a more transparent process, that the city would be able to meet the needs of the moment. Yes, COVID rates are going up. That's a potential need in the future, but the need of the moment is critical. It's critical. Anyway, I'll stop. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to restate 30-day comment period, and your comments are being noted, and a public hearing. Transparency is here for you. I totally, as I said, I totally understand the housing challenge. As I said, there's no way for us to tap into current systems and records of who has received rental assistance. It's beyond our ability to do. We just can't do that. So
we have a provider that's approved by the state in Fayetteville, and they can do that. So if there had been an open application process and an open RFP that they could have responded to, then that would have been part of the deliberations. And so I'm glad that there's this public comment period. But what I'm saying is, I don't want to miss the overall point, is that having a public comment period that opens up where it's just like, okay, here's an open mic, y'all can talk about it. Like, we don't even understand how this came to be, what the process was. And so to the earlier speaker's point, like having it vetted through your advisory committee, to me seems like an actually more transparent process. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to provide feedback.
okay, thank you.
I had one more comment, if I could.
Mhm.
I think what was really very important is that we've what we're presented with in terms of public comment is having one choice. The choice that this money is going to be allocated to this agency for this purpose.
If
The
HUD
the
approves
public
it.
group, our the citizens of Fayetteville's board that is empowered to look over these things should have been made aware of this, and there should have been options. So to be presented with one option is inappropriate, and it is much like what we've experienced with the Washington County Quorum Court. This money belongs to every single person on this call and every single person in Fayetteville that's not on this call. And the committee is there to give us a broader perspective and not come down from one source, one conversation that happens behind closed doors, and then is presented for us to have public comment. This, to me, is an inappropriate public comment time. It should be the presentation that we need to reallocate these monies, and these are some options. Do you have other options? Because we're not being given a choice. We're just having to comment on a choice that's already been made for us.
Thank you for your comment.
Just for the record, my name is Don Bennett. I'm the director at Tricycle Farms. We have also applied for ARPA funds, and I might say that the process has been arduous.
We're not here to talk about ARPA. Is that, are you done with your CDBG reallocation comments?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments? And remember, you can email or call us, whatever works for you. I think Casey has a comment.
Hi, just a brief comment. This is Casey Kleinhens. I'm at the Community Development Corporation of Bentonville. I do understand the duplication of benefits piece that you talked about with the in regards to the rental assistance funding, and I can see how that would be very difficult to, not trigger some duplication of benefits and getting the funding out. And I understand how that wouldn't be great for Fayetteville to have to repay funds that, we otherwise wouldn't know back to HUD because they went out in kind of a riskier way. Anyway, just wanted to give that 2 cents. I do understand the context, and that getting them out in the form of rental assistance does seem like a pretty risky way to go.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other comments? Okay, second call for comments if we have nobody raising their hand. I
I'll
guess,
just say to Kate's point that
yes,
the whole prevent duplication of efforts is a big deal. And I agree that we want to be cautious about that. Take it from me, after having like a year of having to go back and re-audit stuff and having good internal controls, I totally respect that. But we do have ESG providers that are approved by the state in our community that should be eligible to apply for these funds. And like I said, I don't see or haven't seen and can't find any RFP that went out. So I'm just confused as to how this,
Oh, okay,
proposed
again,
happen.
again, I will say this is a reallocation of funding, which is a totally different process.
yes, I understand that.
Okay,
However, to Don Bennett's point, whomever decided that UAMS and community clinic, two fine institutions, should be like, what's the recommendation? There was no discussion about what are all the options and where's the application that for who even wants, who has a plan for how these reallocated funds could be used. And I don't know, it doesn't pass the smell test, and the risk reduction component is important, but that's a solvable problem. And we have ESG providers that can prevent duplication. Thank you.
okay, do we have any other comments? Seeing no comments, then we will call our meeting complete at 3:32. Thank you, everyone, for attending.